Hey there, this video is going to talk about some of the basic things that you need to be able to do if you're starting a one-point perspective project. On this side, I'm just going to do some very simple vocabulary words that you're going to need to know. There's really only three kinds of lines that you need to use to make a one-point perspective drawing. It is vertical line, so a line that goes straight up and down, horizontal line like that, or a diagonal line that is going to go to the vanishing point. So this, if this point was the vanishing point, you could be making diagonal lines that go to this point. And those are the only three lines that you need to know. You also do need to know how to use a ruler the correct way and make parallel lines. So let's just talk about how to use a ruler the right way. One good way to practice is to make sure that you can connect two dots together. So I just drew two dots and I have this straight edge. You don't need a ruler. I actually like these better. And my first tip is that when you start, I always put my pencil down on one of these points first, then scoot my ruler up there and line up that other point, so it's about right in the middle of that point, and then you connect them. One thing that you have to keep in mind is that you have to keep the ruler perfectly still. So you'll see me, I've spread my hand out as far as I can. If you just have your hand by one of the sides, a lot of the times when you start drawing, the ruler moves because there's nothing holding it down on this side. So when you make spread your hand out as far as it can possibly go, and that will usually keep that ruler from moving. Just press down hard on it. So you can see that I did two parallel lines perfectly. Okay, so let's talk about what you'll need to do when you start your first one-point perspective. The first thing you need is your horizon line. And for the most part, you want it to be parallel to the edges of your paper. So when you look at it, what I'm checking for is that this strip looks like a rectangle or a square, and you can see that this side is much bigger than this side. So those lines, this line and this line of your paper and your straight edge are not parallel. So you need to adjust it so it looks like both of these sides are equal, or that this looks like a perfect rectangle. So this looks good to me. And I just draw the horizon line, and it's usually about in the middle of the page. It does not have to be perfect. You can see that this one is a little bit high. I'm going to pick a spot to put my vanishing point, and you just draw a little dot. And now to practice, since we're going to be doing buildings, I just want to practice making squares or cubes for right now. We won't even turn them into buildings yet because that's a little bit more difficult. So again, needs to be parallel. So I'm looking this time between my horizon line and this straight edge, and it looks like a rectangle. You have to check this over and over every time you make one. So I just make a line like that. And now I'm going to do this side. So I put my pencil down. And this time I'm checking this way to make sure that this line and this line are parallel, and it looks like a rectangle. That looks pretty close, maybe a little bit off. That looks good. I just draw the next line. The other thing that you're going to have to realize is that you are going to be doing a lot of erasing with one-point perspective. As you get better at it, you will do less erasing, but it's just the way one-point perspective goes. So I drew that other line, and you can see it's parallel to this one. So it's starting to look like a rectangle. Now, when you connect these two, don't just connect one point to the other, because they aren't necessarily equal. We did not measure these or anything. So again, pick one of them. I'm going to pick this one. And I'm going to check for the rectangle. The most important thing is that this is parallel to the side of your paper. And you can see that this sticks out a little bit. Okay, so I'll finish that. And that is fine. I'm going to erase this part. So there you go. You have a perfect rectangle that is parallel to the edges of your paper. Okay, so it's just like a building. So it doesn't look like it's tipping over. Now, it's time to connect these points to the vanishing point. So any point that you could draw a line from the corner of this rectangle to the vanishing point, you connect one. Okay, this one doesn't work because it goes through the rectangle, but all three of the other ones you can connect. So I put my pencil down, I carefully line up the corner, and I connect it. I go ahead and move to the next one, and the last one. Now it looks like a very long rectangle. And so that's the start of one-point perspective, but we're going to turn this into a cube. Right now it's not. So we need to put on the back of this cube, both the top and the side. So again, don't look at these lines. If you do, it's going to really mess you up. You want to just make sure that you have a parallel line, a rectangle. So I'm not even looking at these lines. I'm looking at this line and the line of my straight edge. Okay, and it looks like a good rectangle to me. So I put on the top. Okay, and you're just copying this line to there. Now this one's a little bit harder because you have to make these corners match. So I put my pencil right at that corner. And again, I'm looking for this parallel rectangle. That looks about right. Okay, now you can see if we erase, these lines are no longer needed. Then have a cube that looks like it's going back in space. That's basically how you do one-point perspective.